Hi, I'm Tyler, and welcome back for those that were with us last week. Today I thought we'd make a nice little home for my plant here. This cute little succulent pot is just in storage, and I thought, you know what? Maybe we could give it a little facelift. So let's go ahead and just take some clay. We're gonna turn this guy into a little succulent pot. So let's go ahead and start warming up the clay. First thing you wanna do is get those cute little molecules in there moving around. Then first thing we always do is get it nice and kneaded, okay? So we're just gonna take our hands on the sides like this. We're just gonna go down and forward. Push down and forward. Over and over and over again until you get this, the cute little monkey face. That means you're on the right track. So we've got all these nice layers in here. It's starting to look really good. Nice little cinnamon roll in there. I tend to always get hungry when I'm doing this. I don't know if it's because I'm moving around or if I always make food references. A nice hot cinnamon roll that would be so nice. All right, now that we've got it kneaded, let's go ahead and give it a little roll back into itself. We're ready to go. So let's grab a little bit of water here. Get that nice and wet. Okay. First off, let's go ahead and slap it on down because we don't want it flying away from us. Scoot that into the middle as best you can by pushing down and in. Oh, let's go ahead and help this guy get in the middle here. Just gonna get it wet. Feel free to get your hands wet. Get them nice and soaked. Stay a while. Let's go ahead and make a cone. We're just gonna put our hands on the sides here, add a little bit of pressure and keep that guy nice and slick. Let's go ahead and drag our pinky as well as we push in and up. There we go. So that's starting to look more like a cone here. I'm gonna do it one more time. We're just gonna push in and up with our palms. Get that clay to start going in the middle, and you can tell it's getting a little spirally here. Let's go ahead and smash it down. Not too far though. So I've got my left hand on the side here. And we're just gonna angle that left hand. And I'm slowly pushing down, but also squeezing that sponge to keep it nice and wet. Now from here, it's really important to really push with that left hand. That's what helps get the clay nice and centered. And I think we need to go up one more time with it. So let's just go ahead and push in and up. Oh, that feels so good. Sometimes you just need to get your hands a little dirty. Be quite healing. Look at that. That's a nice little cone. So get that wet and let's go down one more time and I think we'll have it. So I'm just slowly pushing this guy down. I'm gonna roll that left hand in a little bit because that'll give us a nice little English muffin shape that we're looking for. And at the very end, don't forget, give it a nice little compression. Whoosh. Just like that. All right, now let's go ahead and dig a hole. So we're gonna keep moving here. Hold two hands together, two fingers in the middle. I'm just gonna slowly dig, but not too far, right? If you go all the way down to the bottom, you might just put a hole in your pot. That actually might work out well if it's a planter pot. So you can always make something out of nothing. Okay. I'm just gonna check the depth here with my sponge, see what's going on down there. It's looking pretty good. We got about that much down there, so it's looking really good. I'm gonna push just a little further. Really stretch those limits a little bit. Kind of a risk taker. All right, Now I'm gonna slowly pull that clay towards us with your fingertips. Let's get that nice and widened out, just like that. All right, now that we've got a nice looking base here, I'm gonna put some water down there because we're gonna take our favorite little wooden tool, just compress the bottom there. Yeah, that's looking good. Let's put this extra little stuff over there. That's why we leave a little extra at the bottom, because once you start compressing, that clay comes right off. Okay, now let's go ahead and give that inside a nice smooth. I'm gonna put my fingers on the walls and the sponge on top and get that nice and centered. And watch how I kind of angle that in. It's a really great way to set you up for a successful pull. It's a really strong structure. So just gonna get that wet. I'm gonna wrap my sponge around like this with my hand on the inside to support. Now don't forget to slow down, okay? So we're gonna push down and in with that outside hand. Watch as I just scoop that clay. You just wanna scoop that clay. Now I've got this little rivet inside. I can slowly pull with my fingers and the sponge, but very gently, because at the top we wanna slowly let off, okay? Just like that. Now I'll get a couple fingers on the walls and the sponge on top, because you don't want that. You don't want this to be all wobbly up here. Kind of do that as you go. Now let's go ahead and give it another pull. Let's see what this thing's made of. Well, it's made of clay, but let's see how tall we can pull it up. So this time, I'm gonna push a little bit with my inside fingers, as you can see. And now I'm gonna push down and in a little bit to scoop. I'm just gonna slowly drag my fingers up together. And at the top, don't forget, just kind of slowly ease off. If you ever feel like you're going too fast, don't be afraid just to slow down. All right. Now let's go ahead and do one more pull, and I think we're about there. So I'm just gonna push down and in. Slowly push in and up. Because after this pull is when the party starts. We can start shaping, okay? So, we've kneaded it, we've centered it, dug a hole, stretched it out, brought up into a beautiful cylinder, which is typically the steps to everything that you make. Let's go ahead and make sure these walls are nice and sturdy. I'm just gonna put that tool on the edge here where it meets the clay, and then just slowly push the clay onto the tool with my inside finger. Get that nice and smoothed out. Look, we're just gonna slowly drag that inside finger up the wall. Just make sure not to push too much at the top here. Look at that. You got a nice centered cylinder right there. Now, when we're doing cute little succulent pots, one of my favorite tools to use is this metal rib tool. Now this is where we're gonna start shaping. So the one thing you wanna watch out for, so let's just keep a little bit of water on the walls in here on your cylinder. Now, we're gonna tuck that shoulder back so that we're anchored down. And I'm just gonna do essentially what I did with the other wood tool. Let's just go ahead and shape this into a nice simple round shape. So I'm barely bending this tool. Just slowly going up the tool here. And now, as we get to the top, since we want the top to go in, we'll let go with our inside hand. Kind of gently finish the top here. That's looking pretty good. Now let's do that one more time. Let's see if we can match this angle. See all that gap down there? Pushing down and out slowly till the tool meets the pot. Now I'm just gonna slowly drag my finger up the tool. Now, I'm gonna slowly roll this tool in at the top here. Got a little wild there for a sec. Did you notice how when you mess with the bottom, it can affect the top? Remember that, it'll come in handy later. All right, let's go ahead and just do this one more time. Just very gently applying a little bit of pressure. Look at that. We'll just kind of slowly pull in the top there. Now, let's go ahead and just go from the top, and slowly come down. This will help get the pot back on center, but also make it look a little more uniform instead of jaggy here, a little smooth there. All one continuous angle. That's all we're doing right here. Now, this is your pot, so you could do whatever you want to it. You could add a line onto it with the little sharp end of this tool. But what I see is maybe I'll put in this round part right in here and just gently apply a little bit of pressure on the inside and bring my inside finger up just to see what would that do to the shape. Jeez, I kind of like that. Let's go ahead and make it even more defined. Oh, that's looking really good. All right, I'm gonna go down the clay one more time just to try and make this look like one continuous round shape. There we go. All right, man, I feel really good about that. Now remember, you want to make sure to remember when to stop, okay? Because evidently, the more that you play with this clay, the higher the chance you might crash it. Which if that happens, that's okay. You can always restart and give it another try. Because practice is really the key to pottery. Okay, now let's go ahead and clean off our hands of all this gunk. So I'm just gonna take my nice big bucket of water and my big sponge. You know, if you want any of these tools or supplies, we've got it all linked below for you. So it's nice and easy to find. And now, we need to heat this guy up a little bit, okay? So let's go ahead and take this handy dandy hair dryer and let's dry it out. Now it's been a few minutes, so let's go ahead and test it. Let's see how dry this is. So it's a little tacky, I'm noticing, on the outside, but it's pretty close because if you push on it, it doesn't really move. Let's see, this is the moment of truth. Yay, it fits. Okay, now notice the clay will shrink a little bit, so you got to be careful of that. Now let's just smooth that out. Let's give this another 40 seconds or so. What we got here. Okay, now that's looking great. Let's go ahead and take our wire tool. Now don't floss with this, remember, that'd hurt. Hold it tight and we're just gonna slowly drag it out. I almost forgot a step. Let's take the wood knife. My bad, my bad. We're just gonna slowly drag that underneath there. Look at the clay, it just falls right off. Nice little carving. This just kind of helps round out the clay down there. Now, watch what I do here with the knife. If I just slowly roll it into the piece of pottery, it kind of holds that continuous shape. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. Get your knife a little wet too if you need to. Sometimes helps smooth things out. We're just gonna kind of roll that. Okay. Ooh. It's looking good. And then we can come back with this tool real quick if we'd like to. And then you gotta bend it quite a bit there, but it really does work wonders when you're able to kind of hold it steady, not too much surface area down there. Look at that. Oh, wow. Okay. Now the nice thing is if that part's really hard, all we gotta do is just take this guy, hold it tight, push down. We're gonna slowly slide through because we want the pot to cut itself off the wheel. Okay. Now, take that off the wheel. Because what we need to do to finish before this guy can go in the kiln is we'll flip it over and then take our sponge. Make sure there's not too much water because you don't want it to get super wet. Just go around and get that all smoothed out. And this is I used to call it wax on, wax off, but kind of like sponge on, sponge off. There we go. There we go. Okay, get all the water out now that we've got it nice and smooth. And you'll notice if you go a little too deep when you're digging the hole, this top part will kind of sink in. But that's okay. Don't fret. I read this quote today and I loved it. It says, "Be not afraid, just believe." So what we're gonna do is get our needle tool and sign it. And I say just don't be afraid if that sinks in a little bit, because guess what? Looks like my daughter's home. Gotta go say hi. When we flip it back over, this bottom is gonna just sink back down with, gravity over time while it dries out. So let's go ahead and clean off our hands a little bit. The nice thing is if you want to, you can always smooth this stuff out a little more too. So like this top part, since my hands are a little wet, I'll just kind of slide that. And then all these parts, but check that out. We've got a succulent pot for our little guy here. Totally revamp his life. Now we don't have to throw it in the garbage. There you got a succulent pot. So now we're gonna throw this in the kiln to be bisque fired so it's ready to glaze. Boom! Look at that. It's bisque fired. Okay, now let's just jump right into it, okay guys? Today we're actually gonna start on the bottom, except we're not gonna glaze the bottom, right? And today with the succulent pot, we chose the color tan tweed. And so what we're gonna do is make sure it's all stirred up. We already kind of shook it for a couple minutes beforehand, so we could just jump right into it. And on this one, I actually did add a little bit of water just to test it out. Now we've got our brush, nice and, wow, that is a little bit more watery than I had expected it to be. So we'll make sure to get some of that water off of our brush. And let's just go ahead and take some of this thick, delicious glaze. Check this out. I'm gonna put the lid down here. Oh, it's like red, so I'm a little nervous to put it on. But you know what? whatever happens, we can just go along with it, right? There are no mistakes. So we're gonna go ahead and just get a little layer. Now, I like to have a natural foot to this guy, so I'm actually gonna come up a little higher. And let's go ahead. Wow, we got a lot of glaze on the top lip right here. So I'm gonna slow the wheel down. I'm gonna use this guy to smooth out that line. That is beautiful right there. Oh, even going up a little higher than I wanted to, but hey, that is okay. Look, we're just gonna be a little creative here. Let's add a little bit more glaze. And let's hug that rim. Why not? As far as we know, this glaze doesn't drip, so hopefully it doesn't drip. Now, we are using the tan tweed, okay, from Penguin Pottery Supplies. Okay, so this stuff, so far I really like how it applies and everything. It is a little bit thick, so that's why I applied, or I guess put a little bit of water into it. But let's go ahead and define our kind of base here. Now remember, we don't do the very bottom of the piece because why? Can you guess? If you weren't here with us last episode, I'll give you a hint. It might stick to the bottom. If you glaze the bottom of your pot and put it in the kiln, it's gonna stick to the bottom, okay? Now, did you see that little guy? What I'm gonna do is just grab a little extra glaze right here, and I'm gonna come in at this angle and just kind of float some of that thick glaze right there. Then that'll take care of that little mark that happened. Oh, and look what I did here. Oops. No problem. Just take some glaze. Wow, check that out. We'll just hug that thick little wave of glaze right up there. This is gonna look so cool. I have a good feeling about this. So what this does is, thankfully, when you're glazing, it's kind of like when you're painting your house. You want to tape in, you know, the corners and the edges, and then do a little bit of painting in that area up next to it, so that then you can take the big roller and glaze or slash paint. I guess you'd be painting because you're painting your house. Paint and bring in, kind of blend in from those edges and the corners. So that's kind of like what we're doing right now. So we're doing this bottom part really good. That's honestly as thick as probably 2 to 3 coats. And so that's probably plenty. Now, I did read on the bottle too that you need to do at least 3 coats is what it says, which is fine. But one thing to keep in mind is that when you fire this piece, if you fire it to cone 5, it'll turn out beautiful, but it does say on the bottle that if you fire it to cone 6, the colors will be a little bit more vivid. So we're gonna fire it to cone 6 just because I have a lot of cone 6s, little things for the kiln. So it actually works out really nicely for us here. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and carefully tip this over. So now the bottom's completely done, right? So we're good to go there. Now we're just gonna do the top rim here. And I believe we've only done really like 1 coat up here, to be honest. See how a little bit more wet it is going on? That's because I added just a little bit of water. So hopefully that doesn't hurt us too much. I did read that the Penguin, why can't I remember, Pottery Supplies business, they have a lot of these glazes, and if you like one of their colors in particular that you're going to use a lot. There's another form of glazing which is called dip glazing. And it's a lot faster, especially for simple projects that you just want it one color, just kind of like what we're doing here, except all you have to do is get what's called, let's see if it's right here. Okay, they're mixed master glaze liquid. So if you get that, you can make this a lot more runny and in a larger container and dip glaze, which is pretty cool. I think we should try that maybe in a future episode. Comment if you want to see the mix master from this penguin peeps. All right, so now let's go ahead. We're gonna start doing the inside. So I'm gonna grab a nice big glob, okay? Now I feel like the outside's fairly dry. This glaze dries really fast, which is super nice, especially for what we're doing. So I'm gonna start from the inside and make sure to get the bottom all nice and glazed. Now, if you know you're putting a plant in here, technically, you really don't need, here, I'll turn this like that because that's actually what it's gonna look like. You really don't need to glaze too much of the inside. Maybe this top part of the rim right here, but it just all depends what you're gonna use it for. Because yes, we made this in mind for that cute little succulent plant that we have, which we're so excited to gift this thing to that little plant. But if you decided, you know what, this could actually be used for oatmeal or, you know, even cereal. Sometimes I'll eat cereal out of, you know, dishes that kind of look like this. Now watch, I'm getting the rim. I'm getting these bristles like right in there. That's something that maybe a lot of potters miss. See right there? There's like a little white spot. You gotta really get your bristles into those little pockets so that the pottery absorbs it. We've got just a little bit more. It's kind of nice doing this red color. When you're doing such a vivid color, it's really easy to see where you've glazed. Like I mentioned in the last episode, you can kind of get lost from where you've glazed after the first coat because it all kind of like looks the same. There we go. That's looking pretty dang nice. I like that. Now my fingernail kind of chipped that, so I'm just gonna get a nice thick layer on this rim. I tend to do thicker layers on the rim because it kind of can add a cool effect depending on the glaze that you're using. Okay, this is nice and thick. I think I'm just gonna do maybe one more round on the outside here and call it good. Look how easy it's going on. Look at that. We're gonna be over in a jiffy. Look at that. Whoa. Look at that. I wonder what that's, it's like really dark brown that I'm kind of spreading around. Wow. I really do like how quick this glaze tends to dry because it makes it easy. Now, for this part, I actually have a little tool here that you can get. It's just a little spindle, so it kind of does the same thing. But essentially, what you do is, you know, twist it, okay? I just wanted to put that in there. If you have a pottery wheel, then you're golden because your pottery wheel will spin. Now, it's a little bit harder to kind of get down in here, but that's why we put extra glaze on that bottom rim, like way down here by the bottom of the pot, so that we didn't have to go way down there. See that? All we have to do, whoa. There's a little bead in there. Huh. I think that was in the glaze. That's pretty wild. Probably uses that to mix it. Who knows though? I bet that's what it's used for, though. Okay. Oh, no pasa nada. All right, just for fun, I'm just gonna do one more up here. It's gonna be very vivid. Let's do that. Let's keep spinning that. Okay, there we go. Wow, that's nice. Okay, let's take a look. See what we got here. All right, that's looking pretty great. So, I think we should get this guy to the kiln, see how it turns out. Here we go. Oh, isn't it like magic? You know, goes in the kiln, red, comes out tan tweed. And look, it even has these little brush stroked like lines here. Look at this one. This one's kind of light blue. Really super cool. You just don't know what's gonna happen under that intense heat and pressure in the kiln. Well, let's not forget, guys, we've got a cute little home for our succulent. Oh no, it doesn't fit. Wait. Okay. Don't tell my wife. Now it fits. I told you guys it shrinks. Well, there you have it. We have a little home for our plant now. It didn't quite fit, but hey, you know what? Improvise, right? It's art. You can't really go wrong. So anyways, I kind of like that. Thank you guys for joining this episode. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And I really hope to see you on the next one. Have a great day.